Will you be spending the holiday season? Well, the Travelling Cheapskates are here to help us. They offer adventure and fun that won't break the bank. With me is co-founder Pearl Nkosi. I'm also joined in studio by travel enthusiast Lesego Maloka, who's just come back from celebrating his 30th birthday in Brazil. A very good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Pearl, when did the travel bug bite? Before we get into what it is that you guys actually do.
So, in a way, I think this travel thing has always been a part of me, because my dad's nickname was Umgwaqo, which is Zulu for the one that takes the journey, because he was a gallivanter of note.
Right.
But Philile and I met in varsity, and then we were in Johannesburg to start off our careers, and we took out some time out, as people do now and then, and we backpacked. We went towards Neisner, and we just fell in love with the experience, with what we were engaging with, and the experience of just meeting new people and just growing as individuals. And this was 2011, and since then, when we are sharing our stories via social media, people were like, you guys are onto something. How do you do it? And before we knew it, we were answering questions, and we were like, maybe,
right,
just maybe.
There's something here.
You know?
Okay, let's get into Travel Cheapskates.
Yeah.
There is a reality. Yes, traveling some parts of the world is very expensive, but when you come here at home, there's a misconception that traveling is expensive. There's a lot of money that goes into it. There's a lot of planning that goes into it. What was the big idea with Travel Cheapskates? Were you trying to address those misconceptions that traveling is expensive?
So, in all honesty, traveling is quite costly. However, with anything and planning, there are ways to beat the system. There are ways to cut down costs, and certainly planning ahead will save you a whole lot of bucks. And Traveling Cheapskate really is just trying to get people to start moving, and specifically the black nation, people that look like me, that are my age, to understand that there's so much value in moving around and meeting new people and experiencing just a different aspect of this beautiful country and different foods, culture and history, for that matter as well. So certainly to make sure that the black child is moving and embracing who they are.
I love that. Lesego, what a way to celebrate your 30th
Look
birthday.
at you.
In Brazil. Tell us about that.
You know what, the experience was amazing, I won't lie. My first time traveling so far alone.
You went to Brazil for your 30th by yourself?
Yeah, by myself, yes. It was a great experience. I must say, though, the language barrier was a problem. But eventually, after day 2, you know, you get Google Translate, you know, to talk to the locals. You just take your phone out, you're like, how do I do this? What's this? What's that? But it was amazing, I won't lie to you.
And how did you find traveling alone to a whole different continent? What was that like? You speak about language barrier as well being a factor, and you by yourself, the only thing you have, like you said, is Google.
Yeah. It's a bit scary at first, you know what I mean? I won't lie, it's a bit scary, but then most people from other countries, when you're the first time there, they welcome you, you know? You're scared at first, but then that you're different, you're black, you know, like, oh, amigo, you know what I mean? And eventually you drink the local beers, you do local stuff, and by day 3, you're sort of like getting a hang of it, you know? And I mean, it's not that different from Johannesburg, or it's as busy. Rio is very busy as well. So it was home away from home, if I can say that.
Pearl, we've got 9 provinces that have got magic in every pocket that you look into. In terms of Travel Cheapskates, are you far and wide all the provinces? Are those the kind of services that you offer in terms of travel packages?
So our speciality is putting together accommodation and activities, and we promote local travel with the intention to step out into the SADC region. So when you say South Africa, bring me Western Cape. Are you talking Limpopo? We are there. We will make it happen. So we have a cluster of packages that we've pre-packed. However, we do consider customizing experiences to suit the family setup that is so diverse in South Africa. And vacations, we got it. Friendship goals, we are there.
It's all there. Your experience in terms of seeing how people engage with the kind of services that you offer. Are we a curious people? Do we want to travel? Do we want to see other parts of the country, of the continent, of the world?
Certainly. I think we are at an era where people are curious and are open to exploring, and even if you look at the Twitter conversations that we are having, people want to know how to beat the system. They want to know how they can do it better. And the one learning that has verified the intentions that we have is that when we started off, we really just wanted to backpack. That was our focus. And then people or the market was saying, no, boo. We want to be seen. We want to be out here. We want to be popping. And then you start learning from the market. So that itself shows you that there is an interest. People are very keen to be stepping out of their backyards and traveling this country. And we actually have a movement that we started this year, which is Travel Your Backyard, which really says start where you are, do what you can. So every single month of the year, we put out a day experience and we invite people. We started off in Johannesburg, and in the new year, we're spreading it out into other cities outside Johannesburg. And we just hook up in the AM, and it's either we're hiking, we are quad biking, we're cycling Soweto, we're doing the damn thing.
Lovely.
We're embracing each other, we are conversing.
Yeah. Lesego, how was your experience in terms of putting this together? Did you use a travel agent? Did you put this together by yourself? I
used a travel agent. It was quite smooth, but obviously I had to arrange transport from the airport to the hotel, because you don't know what you're going to meet when you get there. So everything was done via the travel agency. Even the activities that I did, you know what I mean? I had to go through her, because I could have done it myself in Brazil. I was like, you know what, let me just do everything here. Because they're a whole different world, you know what I mean? You want to go there knowing exactly what to expect and what's happening. You know?
So you used the travel agent for that, but what research did you do for yourself to know what you're about to get yourself into?
I Googled, you know what I mean? I've always wanted to see Christ the Redeemer. So I went behind the whole research of Christ the Redeemer, what the charges are, you know, all these activities, the history of Brazil, how it came about, how Portuguese people went to Brazil and so forth. So I did my research, and I tried actually doing it myself, but it was just... We need cheapskates. We need cheapskates to help us, you know what I mean?
Right. This is why the Pearl, you know, let the professionals do it. So my next trip will probably
be through her, probably.
Why Brazil?
Like I'm saying, I've always wanted to go to see Christ the Redeemer, you know what I mean? My other option was to go to Portugal, but there wasn't enough, for me, tourist attractions to see, you know what I mean? When you hear Portugal, you just... I knew more about Brazil than Portugal, so I was like, let me just go for Brazil, and the package was quite reasonable, so I was like, let me just go for it.
Pearl, you know, sometimes traveling either this continent or some parts of the country as a female can be quite challenging. I think men have a different experience to women when it comes to travel. How do you speak to someone that says, well, I do want to travel, but I don't have a travel partner or I don't have friends who actually like to travel, so what do I do?
Okay, so in actual fact, one of the growth nudges that the market has given us is exactly that. People that say, I have friends and we've tried to plan travel trips before, but just before we depart, there's only like 3 people left and it's just myself. So we are actually working on a package that says, bring yourself, we'll hook you up with other like-minded people and let's get moving.
Lovely.
And it's something that we're introducing early next year. By winter, the movement will be going.
In terms of safety, how big an issue is that for you guys?
I think at this point we haven't had any difficulties, but it is something that we have considered also from our own personal experience of just moving around. You see how people engage with you. However, there are still means and there are still precautions, and if you're traveling locally, you already know how to carry yourself in certain parts. There's still leverage in terms of knowing how to carry yourself, but it certainly is a factor on how you move about, specifically if you're moving alone.
100%. Lesego, what is it that you gain from traveling? When you get into the car, you don't even look back to see whether you lock the door. You don't even look down to see that you're leaving Johannesburg when you're on that flight. You are out. What does that experience actually mean for you personally?
For me, it's a very, how can I put it? It's free. You feel like you're leaving everything behind to discover something new. You know what I mean? And traveling for me, it's a whole new feeling. I can't explain it. It's something that you leave everything behind and you go there to get new experiences, you know what I mean? And half the time when you come back, you're a different person. You see South Africa differently, you know what I mean? I mean, looking at Cheapskates, you know what I mean? I mean, when I went to the Free State, I went to Golden Gate, right?
Yeah.
And I grew up going to Kwagwa a lot, you know what I mean? But going to Golden Gate now, I was like, Kwagwa is amazing, you know what I mean? I went to Basutu Cultural Village, they told me the history behind all these things. I was like, there's more to us here in SA than, we're always thinking a holiday is somewhere out of the country, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
While as here, you've got such good things, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm also looking at that space of traveling more locally and,
Yeah.
And there she is.
And Pearl, isn't that it though? Like sometimes we look for pearls or gems outside of our own country, but we've got so much that we haven't even explored. Some of the gems that you have found that you were like, how, I didn't even know that this is in South Africa.
Yeah. So back in like 2011, when we're actually starting off, we had a chance to go to Tsitsikamma down in the Western Cape. And I'm talking about an experience where you are caught in between a forest and the ocean. And the space was just calming and liberating. As much as I was within a group of people, it gave me such an escape. And it's just one of those places that I still treasure in terms of the experiences. There was a hike we did where we elevated all the way to the top, and we got this beautiful panoramic view of nature, and it was just healing of places that I didn't even know that they needed healing. And then another place that I haven't been to in actual fact is Golden Gate. It's on the list, it's on the list, it's on the list.
Right.
And maybe it's just the person that I am. I'm very happy to just gallivant and take those walks.
A free spirit.
Yeah.
Where is your next destination? If you could go anywhere on this continent, on this beautiful, majestic continent of ours, where would you go?
Botswana.
Botswana. Why Botswana?
Delta. Again, it's the scenery. I have a thing for water and the nature. I can just see elephant after elephant.
I actually want to ask you this. Are we curious when it comes to the continent? Do you find that sometimes we want to go to Europe or other places before we travel Africa?
Certainly.
Wow.
Certainly. I think it's also a cost issue and the education behind it. Because about Thailands, they throw themselves at us. And because of cost, we're like, that makes sense. And it's only... It makes sense financially. And then there are also other barriers within the continent in terms of moving in and out. I know, like, there are places that we need to get visas to go into. But then if you look at our neighbors, the Namibias, the Swazilands, obviously Swaziland is inside. But if you look at the neighbors, those difficulties are not as prominent as further into the continent.
And that is changing though, to our credit, where you can get a visa on arrival in many parts of the continent. Lesego, for you, a country that you definitely want to do on this continent?
Zambia.
Why Zambia?
Well, it's already in the pipeline, that's what I'm saying.
Is that the next one?
Yeah, that's the next one, yeah.
Right.
It was just an idea through friends. Like, listen, because we went to Mars last year, so after that trip, we were like, let's try Zambia now. So what we do normally is, when a trip ends, from next month, we start contributing to the next trip again, towards the next trip, so that it's cheaper, you know what I mean? Because you can't wake up and say you're going to Zambia tomorrow, you know what I mean? But if you start planning this year, by the time it's next year, when you go there, you know what I mean?
So you have a travel society, a travel fund,
so basically, we're going to do Botswana. So we drive into Zambia. So we go in Botswana, and then Zambia, and then like a night in Botswana, 3 nights in Zambia, and then drive back again.
Beautiful.
Because also driving, I think road trips are the best, you know what I mean? A flight is a flight. You get there, you know, but driving down, you see things that you...
Yes.
You know, sometimes when you go to Durban now, right, as a child, you never saw these nice things. You just drove to Durban. But when you're older, you see all these...
Yeah, it's about the journey and not the destination.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And you're on your phone the whole time, you're like taking pictures and all that, you know, because we all love pictures. I mean, that's the whole idea behind travel.
100%. In closing up the conversation, where can people get you? What is it that you are saying we are offering you for someone who's watching and thinking, is this for me?
Okay. So we're on all social media platforms. I'm talking Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook as Travelling Cheapskates, spelled with a double L. Emphasis is just travel locally, start where you are, do what you can. Next year, we're saying, if you're in Johannesburg, join us once a month and see Johannesburg, experience Johannesburg with your child, with your family and friends. And if you're looking into planning a trip in 2019 within the country, talk to us. We have a stock file option. Lesego. We're keeping it simple. Back to basics, guys. You put in money. You commit to a package and you put in money per month, and leading up to the date, you're secured. Because what happens is we plan and life happens, but if you start putting in that 200 Rand or that 500 Rand, you almost, it does.
It goes a long way. But let's talk to people who are like, I am so comfortable in the confines of these 4 walls. I don't want to go out. I don't want to see what is out there. I'm cool here. What are you missing out on?
I dare them to give it a shot and try and just see what is out there. A few weeks ago, we did a hike in Krugersdorp, right here in our backyard, were swimming under a waterfall.
Sure.
And I can't tell you how alive you come sometimes when you get an encounter where the child in you is stepping out and saying,
yeah.
you know, I'm out here. And
Yeah.
it was just so beautiful because I had the chance to trial the experience. And now I was seeing people in this environment. I got goosebumps when people were trying to get to that point. There was this log that led you to the waterfall. And people were on their on their bums, were crawling just so that they can get to that
To
point.
the other side.
And when it was just so liberating. It was fulfilling for me. I was like, this is why I do what I do.
You'd be amazed at what you are capable of, and traveling will show you exactly that.
It gives
Thank you so much for coming through and chatting to us. We'll be keeping track to see where your next adventure leads you guys. Thank you very much for coming through.